Hey, Nick.
Hey there. How are you, Kathy?
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining today. I'm so excited to chat with you about your business and just what all you've created in the real estate world. I appreciate you.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm excited to be coming down there to Dallas, to your neck of the woods for a couple of days.
That's right. We got Tony Robbins.
I know. Boy, isn't that going to be amazing? We
Yep.
were fortunate enough to have him last year, and he just blew the roof off. I mean, he's just got so much knowledge and what have you. So I'm excited about that. So Nick, so why don't we start here? Why don't we talk about, you've been in real estate for how long? About 17 years now? Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. I got in 2005 as an unlicensed assistant and got my license in 2006, and then ultimately went full time in 2007.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that you had shared with me, when we were talking one time was that you just stumbled around really for, 4 or 5 years getting into real estate. You ended up partnering, with your brother. And so let's start there. So, talk about kind of the stumbling around and then what happened when you partnered with your brother. I know you had mentioned you'd read the MREA book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. And were you at Keller Williams at the time?
I was. So I was when I was unlicensed, I was at an independent broker, little husband and wife brokerage, and then when I graduated college in 2007, they offered me a full-time position there, right? So it was salary plus a little bit of overrides, and I was like, look, guys, I truly appreciate that, but do I have what it takes to make six figures just going 100% commission? They're like, yeah, you can do this. And so I graduated college, went full-time, 100% commission, bought a house, and then got married, all within that really within like 60 to 90 days of everything in 2007. And what I quickly realized is that I was 24 years old. What I knew about real estate was the back end stuff. What I didn't know was how to actually go get clients and how to go get clients fast enough to be successful. Right. So I did not make $100,000 in my first year. In fact, in 2007, I think it was only, I went back and looked it up. I think it was only 3 or 4 houses that I sold.
And you already bought your house at that point?
I'd already married, bought my house, and had a car pay, again, just all the adult things of doing, and not making any money. And so you start throwing that stress on there where at the end of 2007, it was December, I joined Keller Williams because I knew I needed some additional training. And YouTube wasn't big at the time. There wasn't all the training that was available that thankfully and luckily we have today. And so I joined in December 2007, I joined Keller Williams, and I really did not want to fail in this business. I didn't want to be seen as a failure. And so I just had this drive to want to be successful. And at the end of 2007, beginning of 2008, when I started going to some of the Keller Williams training classes, I was looking around and seeing what other people were doing. And so quickly what I had to start, emulating and implementing was that, my sphere wasn't in the place to be a good viable option for me, for my clients. Cause they were, a lot of my friends were still in college, or they had just graduated. They weren't even thinking about buying a house. Didn't even really know anybody that was buying houses. And I didn't know how to really articulate to get in front of them the right way. My friends' parents weren't buying from their broke kid's friend. So, it just wasn't adding up for me to be successful. Right. The odds were against me. That's why, you still see that stat today that over 87% of agents in their first 12 months fail at this.
Yeah.
And, as I'm starting to learn and pour into the training that I'm getting, I started to get some success. Right. So this is 2008. In fact, there was one successful month that I was having where I had 8 deals under contract, and I'm walking around, Kathy, like bullets could bounce off me, and I'm already calculating how much money I'm going to make. And that's the month that we got the news of the financial collapse, Enron. All 8 of those deals fell out.
Wow.
and it was a quickly overnight sky is falling. People weren't making moves. They were they were losing all their money in retirement and everything else. And so I did what any normal human being would do. They're like, you know what? I'm not cut out for this 100% commission life. I don't think I have what it takes. So I just started looking for jobs. I started going on job interviews. The employment market was not looking great at that time.
Right.
A lot more people were getting laid off than they were getting hired. And so I had to go on several job interviews. And ultimately I landed a job offer from a foreclosure company. It was an asset management company that was tasked with unwinding all these REOs and foreclosures that were happening at the time. And the requirement to work there was I needed to work Monday through Saturday. And ultimately, they had some bonuses too. It was like $60,000 or $65,000 a year, which I really desperately needed the money at the time, plus benefits. And they had some bonus structures in there, but I really needed to work Sunday and then probably figure out how I could create an 8th day to work to really hit that bonus structure.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Kathy, I appreciate it. Let me go home, talk with my wife. Can I get back to you tomorrow? And everything sounds great. I truly appreciate it. So on the way home, I had, I don't know, the universe, God, religion, whatever, something hit me in the face. And this light bulb moment happened where I quickly realized, like, all right, if I have to work Monday through Saturday plus Sunday, if I were to put this time, energy, and effort, the same amount of time, energy, and effort into my real estate practice, could I at least make $60,000 or $65,000?
Yeah.
And that's where if at that time I was being real honest and vulnerable with myself, and I was like, you know what, I'm expecting full-time income on part-time effort.
That's so good. I think if people that are listening would just understand that one point alone, or, and asking yourself, like, you were young, you were in your 20s, and you had enough intellect to know that you got to ask yourself some of these hard questions and be honest with yourself, right? Is if I would put the same effort into my own work as I'm willing to do for somebody else, and like you said, you realized I was doing part-time work in a full-time business, but I wasn't looking at my business like that. That's profound.
We're our own. We probably got into this business to make as much money as we can, unlimited earning potential, as well as that time freedom, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to work for somebody. We don't want to have the boss. And then what does that mean? We become our own worst boss. Like we would never hire ourselves. If we were paying, the exact replica of ourselves in our company and we were paying them a salary, we would immediately fire them.
Yeah.
And so, from that moment on, I turned down that job. Didn't know where I was going to get the money, but I was like, all right, I'm going to put my head down and get to work. And then ultimately, what we now know today is money changes hands when problems are solved. Yeah. And so back then, I didn't know how to articulate it. I wasn't taught that. It wasn't coached. It was just kind of a logical mindset of, all right, I'm going to pour into my sphere isn't really going to pay me. The one lead source I was working that I was having success in was actually retirement. It was active adult retirement homes. And during the financial collapse, they were losing a lot of their retirement money and investments. And so they weren't continuing to buy, and they were staying put because a lot of their houses they were selling were paid off. So they weren't going to make a move. And so that's where I said, all right, I need to invest in myself. I didn't have much money, but I did know that I needed the mentors, the guides. That's where I got hooked up with Michael Reese and Jay Kinder when they had a little coaching company called Kinder Reese. Yeah. And Michael Reese is in my marketplace. I'm here in Dallas, Texas. He's in Frisco, so right up the road from me. And Michael Reese was really, really doing a high level of business in the expireds and cancels and for sale by owners. And I just learned that, all right, I needed to go after the right now business. And so I got the mindset of learning how to prospect, to call people and to reach out to people that don't know me. Yeah. And the minute that I started pouring into myself, the minute I started getting that coaching, that guide, that training, is the minute that I started to actually start seeing success.
Yeah.
And then ultimately in 2009, I partnered with my brother Austin, and the Good Home team was formed. And ever since then, I've made no less than six figures. And it came because of this first off, this understanding that, being committed to this is not just a job, it's a career. And
Yeah.
it's a lifestyle. And ultimately, in order to get this full-time income, this life-changing income, it's going to take full-time effort.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. You had mentioned too that when you read the MREA book, like we talked about in the beginning, the Millionaire Real Estate, it really kind of helped you in setting some foundations. And then it sounds like in conjunction when you found Michael Reese, right? And learned how to prospect. So is that where you really accredit your success to get yourself out of that stumbling world into, okay, now I'm learning how to prospect, and I've also learned how to start building a foundation from the tools that you were learning at Keller Williams and the book to really build that foundation and systems. What systems did you start putting in place? Now you're prospecting, but what systems did you really learn through those early years to put in place?
Great question. No one's ever asked me that. I'm going to go back into that time frame of reading that. So in the MRA, it's the systems of understanding the lead generation mechanism, right? So it goes into understanding, and this is where I'm going to give credit to in all this, is that it's the model is already there. Why I didn't have to recreate or reinvent. I just needed to adapt it into my style at the time, or I need to embody it in the beginning, and then I can make it my own. And so in the beginning, it was understanding, like with the MREA book, is what is a prospecting based model versus a marketing based model. And prospecting means that I didn't have any money, so prospecting is the better option. That is proactively going out there and looking for motivated sellers and buyers, versus that marketing, where it's that branding, where you're sending out your marketing messages and mailers, now emails, social media, etc., stuff like that, billboards and radio, and expecting to attract people in, and hopefully for every dollar you spend, you get $5 or $10 back. But that can be very expensive, and so back then I didn't have the money. So the systems I was learning was how to lead generate the right way. And then ultimately learn about like the 36 touch program of, once I got people in my system, how can I keep them remembering me? How can I get the referral book of business? And that has always been something that we've continued to improve upon, because number one is reading the MREA book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book by Gary Keller. It opened the gates of the mind of what this business can look like and how to run it like a business, right? Yeah. It helps you keep your costs in check. It helps you, keep your schedule in check and everything else. But then ultimately, it's to level up. I got with Michael Reese and Jay Kender on who's that low hanging fruit that we can go after right now. These are the people that have raised their hand and said, Nick, if you were to bring me a buyer, I'm ready to sell it. If X, Y, and Z. And so it was looking at, all right, who are my low hanging fruit opportunities, and how do I effectively, reach out to them? How do I get in front of them to set an appointment? And then ultimately, how do I convert that appointment? And so if I go and look at the guides and the mentors, it's people that have helped me understand how to run this like a business, instead of just running all over the place, like my hair's on fire, and hopefully I find some water to put it out.
Yeah.
And then how to go after, and become that, show myself as that trusted advisor, that expert. And so again, once I modeled those and really mastered those, I've never made less than six figures since 2009. And then it's just quickly evolved from there.
So that's a lot of great advice and insight. So if there's a lot of agents that's going to listen to this, some are new, some are, experienced agents. So if you were to articulate that down to just a couple of things, would you say you need to find a mentor and or mentors that's going to help? What are the one or two things, whether it be a new agent or an agent that's been around a long time, but they're stumbling, right? What would be the one or two things that you would say that these are the steps. Now that I've been through all of that and I'm on the other side and, doing the volume that you're doing, which we'll talk about in a second, 50 million a year, every year in volume, which is amazing, congrats on that. But what are the one or two things that you would say?
So number one is the right partnerships, right? So if you believe that partnering with the right people can help shortcut the process to where you want to go. And so it's partnering with the right people. It's not a brokerage alignment.
Yes,
It's a people alignment. And
yeah,
so that's the biggest takeaway that or advice I can give to anybody. And that's whether you're brand new or you're a veteran who's maybe bouncing against the ceiling that you can't get past. Because ultimately, when you're brand new, you don't know what you don't know yet. And so, if I'm brand new, knowing what I know now, I want to partner with somebody that's going to help me get to the type of lifestyle I want over the next 5 to 10 years. Not just say, I'm going to partner with someone who can get me to just 100,000. I want to partner with someone who can show me how to get to 1 million. I want to get to partner with someone who can show me how to build residual income so I have true freedom in my life and not become a slave to my business. And that's, again, if you're a veteran agent, you're naturally going to hit a ceiling that you don't know how to break through. And you've got now clouded vision. And so you need to partner with that where you think you want to go or where you believe you want to go with the type of lifestyle that you want to have. Now's that time to get that right mentorship, that right guide to help you bust through and start building onto that type of lifestyle that you want to have. So those really, whether you're brand new or a veteran agent, that's the main piece of advice that I would look at. And then ultimately, the understanding of the formula that money changes hands when problems are solved. Yeah. And so right now in this marketplace, there's a lot of fear going on.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking recession, whether you believe or technically we are in a recession, whether you want to believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Interest rates have gone up. There's the fear of a market crash. There's a fear of everything. 2 years ago, there was a fear with COVID, and then the run up in the market with no inventory and prices just exploding. And so our job is to figure out where the problems are in the marketplace and how can we help solve them so that, again, you get paid your value.
Yeah, based on solving those problems. Yeah. Those are so good. We've all heard the phrase, you are the person of the 5 closest people you spend your time with. Right. And so what I hear you say, and I agree 100%, is you've got to know, especially in business, where you're who are you hanging around? Are they elevating or lifting you up? And the other thing you're talking about, and having the lifestyle that we want as agents, or really just as people. It doesn't matter if you're a realtor or whoever you are. Everyone has a certain lifestyle. Some's different than others. But normally in the real estate space, what that has always meant is I've got to work harder. I've got to work more. I've got to put more effort in, at the expense of my time and my family, to create the income, to create the lifestyle that we are trying to create for your family. And it's really about, you mentioned even leverage, right? Leverage and passive income. It's like, how can I increase my income? What are the things I can do to it not be just all about myself and having to work instead of 50 hours a week. Now I've got to work 80 hours a week, to take it to that next level. And, in the MREA book, going back even to that, like I was at Keller myself for 7 years. I was a manager broker for 3.5 of those years, and that book does lay a good foundation in how to build and how to start leveraging yourself, right? Within the business model. But then there's even more, when you're putting yourself around people who are thinking bigger, who are, looking bigger, who are growing always, we've learned that there's even more ways than even what I think that the MREA, MREA teaches, so let me ask you this question. So, how long were you, let me go back to your brother first. So when you partnered with him, what was it that you feel like you had already started? It sounded like laying your own foundation. You had already started, so you'd already surrounded yourself. It sounds like with Michael Reese before you even partnered with your brother. But what happened when you partnered with your brother that even took you guys to to even another level?
So my brother was he was that integrator piece. And so ultimately his background was that he worked at an oil and gas company making calls, thousands of calls a month to high net worth investors to invest in oil wells. And so I said, look, I always believed in when you partner with the right people, it can shortcut the process. And so understanding where we were wanting to go in the solving these problems was, I said, if we can incorporate in this call center, this prospecting based call center method within the real estate industry, I said it'll be a game changer. And ultimately, my brother saw the vision, and we partnered up in 2009 and started putting the call center in place, the appointment center, calling expireds and for sale owners. But what we learned is that when you run partnerships, you've got to have defined roles. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, we were both high D, very type A personality types, and he was better in the investment space. And so in 2010, we formed our investment company, A&G Real Estate, and that's when he started going and flipping houses, and then building our rental portfolio that is now scaled today to somewhere close to 300 doors and 6 storage facilities and assisted living and stuff like that. And so we just found where our expertise level is best to be. But it's more within the partnership of who can help us get to where we want to go. Yeah. And when partnering with him, I already knew that utilizing his skill set was going to help me shortcut, because I was not a natural cold caller. Yeah. Today I am. I love it. But back then that was not my ideal. And ultimately, you're one person away from having, changing the trajectory of your life and your business. And that was the change at that time for our business. And then ultimately that next one was, up until 2019, we were, I was affiliated with Keller Williams, and then in 2019 made the bold move of partnering with EXP, which allowed us to stay in alignment with what our goals and vision were, which is, first off, a belief system that every agent deserves to have a seat at the table from day one. And what that looks like and means like is that too many times within teams or brokerages, you've got to go through and jump through all these hoops. I always say you got to jump through hoops, stand on your head, juggle, drink water, and be able to say the alphabets all at the same time, so that you can get access to certain opportunities, or you got to be a part of the good old boy network. Yeah. And when we decided ultimately to part ways with our past brokerage, we wanted to make sure that our vision and alignment stay true with creating and having an opportunity for every agent that we partner with from day one, to have access to the best tools, the best systems, the best trainings, and ultimately the best leads out there, so that agents can put themselves and their families and their businesses in the best position to win, so they can create a lifestyle they're choosing. Yeah. Because I've seen it. Like, look, what I didn't touch on is two things, Kathy, which we kind of talked about it off air. Is number one, I got divorced because of this business.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Right. So number one, I got divorced because of this business. And ultimately, it's because I put all my energy and efforts and focus on making sure that my business was going to be successful. And ultimately, my marriage failed at that. Yeah. And if knowing what I know now, and being able to bring on the right leverage. I mean, I have more leverage today than I ever have. I still need more. Yeah. My team leader, Sarah, will tell you I need a personal assistant. So I'm on the hunt for a personal assistant. Yeah. Right. So I need something of that sort. But before partnering with here, I would have told you that virtual assistants from the Philippines would never work. But because I came to EXP and the people I surrounded myself with, I met Justin Nelson with Sphere Rocket, who showed me how bringing virtual assistants into our organization can help us grow at a fraction of the cost, help change our team members there in the Philippines world, make it a win-win at the same time. Yeah. And so that would have never happened without the partnership coming over here.
I had a similar experience with the Sphere Rocket. I've got a virtual assistant, same thing. And she shared with me about a month ago, just a quick side story, that, for us in America, it's a lot less expensive. But they first of all, I'm impressed with how incredibly smart they all are, right? But she shared with me that she had bought a car. I've had her since January, and she shared, because you've allowed me the opportunity to be working for you, like I was able to buy a car for my family. And oh my gosh, so the fulfillment that I just got from hearing that. And I mean, she's been a lifesaver, and so like I've had that, and I had that limiting belief too. I didn't think a virtual assistant, like I've had in-person assistants, which we pay a lot of money for those. I didn't think having a virtual assistant would be the same.
Yeah. And we need that leverage in our life, and ultimately understanding, the powers of the businesses that we can create. There's three types of income levels. There's linear income, which is that's our day-to-day income. So if you stop working today, Kathy, that income stops working, right?
Yeah.
And then we've got leverage income, which means that your income is coming based off the other people that you're leading, and it still comes in even if you're not working, but it's not highly residual, meaning if you stop, eventually that money will slow down and stop working for itself too. Yeah. And then the third one is true residual income. You make a sale once, and it can compound and grow, and you keep getting that cash flow coming in. And so ultimately, while with Keller Williams and anywhere else that I was, looking at, we kind of understood that, but we never truly embodied it and practiced it. And that didn't happen until we came to EXP. And ultimately, I'll tell you, the second thing that kind of was life-changing within this business is that, I talk about my brother, partnering with him in 2009. I lost my brother August 6th of 2021 to suicide. And the reason I bring that up is he was an integral part of this company. He was, one in our investment division, the brains and the visionary of it. And if I didn't have the right leverage keys in place already, I mean, having to go through that is already stressful emotionally, physically, mentally, and it's draining. And making sure that our family is grieving. But if we didn't have the right leverage in place, I would hate to think of what it looked like if I also had to worry about my finances.
Yeah.
And thankfully we set ourselves up to put ourselves in the best position when, because our income didn't drop, it grew. And ultimately this is a testament to, being within the right partners, with EXP, with yourself, Jay Kinder, Michael Reese, the rest of our group, because we didn't think like that before. It was just go sell houses and buy rental properties, invest in real estate. And so we didn't really look at the leverage and the true residual income effect of it. And thank God we did in 2019, which we would have done it sooner.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, first of all, I'm sorry even about your brother. I don't know that I even knew that. So I appreciate with your marriage and your brother just being so open and so vulnerable, because this business will, it is easy for us to just get so involved in our business because it's not an easy business, right? To build, right? You're learning the path. We all learn the path. I'd say stumbling forward, and if we just stick with it and you surround yourself, you'll find the people that's going to help you, learn the tools. If you're willing then to take the tools and go implement, which you obviously have, I have. But, in 2020, my husband ended up with quadruple bypass, and that was unexpected. We weren't expecting that. And he and I have talked so many times since then, same thing. The fact that we now have great leverage, that we actually had partnered with EXP in 2017. And so unbeknownst to us, because I got in the business in 99, I didn't understand really the level of leverage that one needed, that one could have in the real estate space until I too became part of EXP. And so when he had that quadruple bypass surgery, so many times we said, what a blessing that I was able to just step out of our business completely for 60 days while he was recovering And, when you step out of your business as the rainmaker in real estate, that's not, and you step out for 60 days, that's really for 4 or 5 months, because that means you're not prospecting, you're not keeping that pipeline going, all of that. And so understanding, and having been able to build the true business leverage, passive income, right? We were on the path, had rental properties, same, that's what we all knew and have been taught as real estate, until we understand, hey, we can be partners, we can be owners in a company, in a company for ourselves, and create our own company under this umbrella, of EXP.
Yeah. And we need to give ourselves permission to open our minds to this, right? Because too many times that we're kind of stuck in an old school way of thought, the traditional way.
Yeah.
And look, and that's all great until it doesn't work. It's all great until, something like that, the quadruple bypass, or something within your family member, or God forbid, if something were to happen to us with, if you're the sole income or the main income provider,
Right.
and something were to happen that you can no longer work, or you can't work for a certain amount of time. That's all great until something like that were to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I always try to show agents that says, look, everything's going great now, but what happens if this were to pop up? What happens if this were to happen?
Right.
And are you prepared for that? And 9 times out of 10, we're not prepared.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a professional athlete who is making a ton of money. They never think the money's going to run out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they have a career-ending injury and they don't know what to do, and they end up going bankrupt, or they didn't save enough to maintain the lifestyle they had.
Yeah.
And so ultimately it's that very similar concept that we need to put ourselves and our family and our businesses in the best position to win. And that means we need to figure out, again, our 3 incomes: the linear, the leverage, and the residual. And you marry all those 2 together, because if you lose one of them, you still have the other 2 to lean on.
Yes. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. So I want to respect your time. And again, I appreciate it, but I want to end on your podcast, right? So you've got a podcast. How long have you been running your podcast? Where can people find that so that they can listen to your podcast? Because I know it's the only one worth listening to, right?
Yeah. So it's called The Only Real Estate Podcast Worth Listening to. So we do it on YouTube. So it goes in several different ways. It's a live show every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And they can find it. They just type in The Only Real Estate Podcast We're Listening to on Facebook. They can check it out there on YouTube, as well as Spotify or Apple Podcast. And I think we're on the 154th, 155 episodes. We've been doing it now for about 3 years. And ultimately, it just started. It was to make it real, raw, and relatable. And so, it's something we always tell people: make sure, like, if you have kids around, put headphones in or listen to it at a different time, because it's just raw and authentic, curse words and stuff like that. And we're sharing what's going on in our business. We have guests coming on, but there's other than our sponsors, there's no sales pitch, right? We're not trying to sell anybody to get into coaching. We're not trying to sell anything other than, hey, please support the sponsors of our show. Because that allows us to continue doing this at a high level, and ultimately it's just to give back to the real estate community. It's myself and two other co-hosts, Brian Force and Matt Kelderman, and they're part of Livion, the Livion platform with Keller Williams. So it's from 2 different brokerages. So you get 2, it's getting different perspectives of team building, being a real estate agent, and being with different brokerages.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, to do that. And JT had commented while you were talking that Indiana has the best rental homes. He said
cash flow. Yeah.
Cash flow. So yeah. So do you have, are all your rentals in Texas there?
So all mine are in Texas. So most of our communities we built from the ground up. Our specialty is to build for rent communities near the colleges. So like in Denton, Texas, there's University of North Texas and Texas Women's University. So we've got a lot of students that live there. And then we're actually building a 96 bed assisted living facility right next to it. Nice. Assisted living and memory care. We have 6 storage facilities, and most of those are in Florida. We have 2 in Texas, but the other 4 are in Florida. And then we have a partnership with an apartment complex there right outside Orlando. So But the single families and the multi, for the most part, the multifamilies here in Texas. But JT, I'd be open to looking at Indiana if the deal makes sense. You know, if it makes dollars, it makes sense.
That's right. That's right. That's good. Yeah, we just started. We've always had long term, and we just jumped off last year and bought our first short term rental.
There you go.
Florida.
I don't have those yet.
Yeah. So it's been great. Yeah, it's been great. I'm a huge fan so far. You know, and my goal too is to get in, or I should say mine and my husband's goal is just to get into, multi-family and then even apartment living. I love what you're doing though with the memory care and all. That's fantastic.
Yeah. If you want to take a look at that, it's Sage Oak, SAGE Oak, OAK of Denton, Texas. So Sage Oak of Denton, and it's a residential. We're not doing a facility type or an institutional look. It's they're 16-bed residential care home facility. So it gets that each one has their own chef in it, and so it's designed to make sure, unfortunately, if someone has to put their loved one in a memory care or assisted living home, that it still has that warmth and that community feel to it without that feeling of just, putting them into an institution and cold feeling. So far so good. I mean, we just opened, and it's been 2 years of pain and 2 years of stress, and on top of everything else of losing Austin. He was the main driver of that. But we've opened up to great fanfare and a lot of great glowing reviews, and people putting their loved ones in there and already having, great testimonials. So I have a great business partner with Low Hornbuckle on that.
Oh, that's so good. So before we wrap up, is there any last words that you'd want to share? Like I said, we've got all kinds of agents, new, existing. I mean, is there any last words of wisdom?
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is, look, don't let this market take control, right? You're in control. So one thing we talk about here within our team is, we're going to set our wins for the day, and our wins are something that is in our control, and that's going to move the business forward. And so as long as you're focusing on that, the market's not going to let you win.
That's right.
Or the market's not going to let you lose, right? So you're in control of that. And so absolutely. And like Jay Kinder always says here within our organization, either we'll see you at the top or from the top.
I know. I love that. So what that says to me in a nutshell is just work your day with intention.
100%.
Just be intentional.
That's right. Set your wins, set controllable wins, and you'll win.
And you'll win. Nick, thank you again so much for joining on here today. And, you've just got so much wisdom, and I've got your number scrolling across the bottom, and my number. If you know Nick or have questions, feel free to reach out to him. Same for myself. We're here for you. We're here to help and support you in any way that we can with your business. And, you got a rock star right here that we've just been listening to. So thanks again, Nick.
Thank you, Kathy. And I'll see you when you get in town.
I know. Can't wait. See you tomorrow.
All right, take care.